Hi, welcome back to Created Health, Nutrition and Fitness. I'm Tanya, and today I thought I would talk to you about the latest research around creatine. So a lot of us are familiar that creatine has been used and extensively researched around the fitness industry, particularly muscle and fitness performance. But there is now new research being done with creatine in regards to mood disorders, particularly anxiety and depression. So before I continue, may I encourage you not only to like this YouTube presentation that I'm giving today, but also subscribe, and that way as soon as I update any of my videos you will get a notification and be the first to have a look at these videos. These videos that I'm presenting are designed to be 10 minutes and under, so giving you nice bite-sized information on health, nutrition, well-being, longevity, and what the research has to say about it. So when we talk about creatine, most of the research that has been done in regards to supplementation, and the form of creatine that is used in the research is creatine monohydrate. This is a really good source of creatine as a supplement because it is well absorbed, well tolerated, and well priced. So ticking lots of boxes there when it comes to supplementation. But our body makes creatine endogenously, and the way it does it is by the metabolism, like a metabolic reaction. That's probably a better way to describe it. So it's a metabolic reaction involving 3 different types of amino acids. So these are arginine, glycine, and methionine. And it is a 2-step process, and predominantly it is through liver, kidney, as well as brain, and it's stored in brain, it's stored in liver, and it's stored in muscles, hence all the research around health and like fitness and muscle, like weight gain, muscle gain, and weight lifting. So that's why there's so much around it. But the easiest way to make sure that you are getting enough glycine in your diet is to make sure that you are including foods that are high in arginine, glycine, methionine. These food sources are found in muscle meats such as red meats and predominantly seafood. If you are on a vegetarian diet, we know that a lot of people are not meeting their daily requirements for getting creatine into their diet. So this is where supplementation has come in, and supplementation has been very beneficial. So creatine has been indicated to improve the outcomes that are associated with people suffering from traumatic brain injury, which is really interesting information, depression, anxiety, Parkinson's disease, and muscular dystrophy. So there's a lot of other benefits to it aside from or apart from fitness and training and muscle gain. So very interesting in regards to cognition and memory with older people, particularly with women, but I will save that for another time. But when we looked at, there was a 2002 research paper. If you want to look at it, it is called Antidepressant Treatment in Major Depression. And what this study found was there was a negative relationship between the concentration of creatine within the vortal of the medial prefrontal cortex of the brain and depression. And this particular research included 84 participants, both male and female participants, and it showed that people that had a low concentration of creatine in this particular part of the brain had low depression scores on the depression score scale. There was also another paper in 2002, and this paper was focusing on social anxiety disorders, and it was a comparison done between patients that were medicated and patients that were medicated free with anxiety. And it was anxiety in social environment, and this found that there were low concentration levels of creatine in the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex of the brain. In 2016, there was research done with they described it as children's research because it was for females aged between 13 and 20, and it was children's depression scale rating that they looked at, and they found that there was a significant negative relationship between the concentration of creatine within the vortal bilateral frontal pole and the prefrontal cortex. So as you can see already, this is quite interesting when we're looking at brain, and there's particular parts of the brain where the creatine uptake was required for mood and anxiety and depression. So by increasing your levels of creatine in that prefrontal cortex and other parts of the brain regions, it assisted in alleviating some of the symptoms of depression and anxiety. So the neural creatine is released after there's been like a potential. So when a neuron in the brain sends a message, there's that action potential, and then that action potential then sends it back up to the brain. And we know that there is a transporter to be able to return it, and this is the creatine transporter on those axons within the brain and those neuron potentials that are happening within the brain. So what happens is if there is deficient creatine, then that creatine transporter is unable to transport the information along the axons within the neurons, and this is the breakdown. So creatine is actually being considered as a neurotransmitter, even though for years we didn't know that that's what it was. And a lot more research has happened around creatine and mental well-being, and because of this, it's now being considered more so a neurotransmitter. So supplementing with creatine will increase the transportation of those neuron potentials happening within the brain. We also know that when we supplement with creatine, it increases our brain-derived neurotropic factor, that BDNF. And BDNF is known as a brain protein, and also for the development, it's really important for the development of the brain. So it's very important that we make sure that we're getting enough creatine in our diet. Creatine also has an antidepressant effect on the brain. And furthermore, creatine reduces oxidative stress, so therefore it downregulates inflammation in the brain. So this is where we're seeing a lot of the research around brain injury with accidents and how creatine is vital for that. But I did find some information that was really interesting with Parkinson's disease, because we know that Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurodegenerative disease, and it does affect both neurons and cognition, as well as motor symptoms or motor reactions within the body. So this was very interesting. There was research that was done just with creatine on its own. Then, and they did find that there, from a cognition point of view, there were improvements. But then there was this other research that was done where they combined both creatine and coenzyme Q10, and that gave really great improvement. So there was no improvement in the motor symptoms. However, the cognitive function was maintained at 12 weeks and again at 18 months. And this was with people supplementing with both creatine and CoQ10. There was significant decline was observed in the group that had placebo and didn't receive creatine. So, and creatine and coenzyme. So, running out of time because I want to keep it short. Remember to like, remember to subscribe. I'm Tanya from Created Health, Nutrition and Fitness. Remember, at the end of the day, your health is your wealth.